Find us, airing our views here on the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for um, what am I saying here, for iOS and Android devices? Is that what I'm
Those are the
saying?
ones. Yep.
Is that the ones? While you download, make sure you rate and leave the comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on smart TVs 2016 Ford. Now, joining me is um, um, Aaron William Freeland. Freeland. Yeah, that's it. After 12 years, you'd think I'd be able to remember, or 10 or
Ah,
11 or whatever
I'm
it
not
is.
worried.
Oh, wait a second. I got to fix a technical issue. Let me see here. Oh, I get some spots above my head there. You see the spots above my head?
I do.
Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. Someone must hang for this. All right. Um, well, there's a lot we can talk about. First of all, I'm wearing my first turtleneck,
Oh, excellent.
long sleeves. I got shorts on at the bottom.
Well, nobody can see that anyways, right?
I'm
So,
kidding. I'm not wearing shorts. I'm actually wearing dress pants. We went to visit some friends, and we had a great time. And it's always nice to spend time with friends. You move into a neighborhood that people don't like to come and visit. Because where we live is so far away. People, especially in the winter, this place is not a place you want to come visit. I don't think. So yeah, so you make new friends. Friends matter. Friends matter. I think they do. Um, Also, when it comes to the Canadian Football League, if I can do a segue, friends matter in the Canadian Football League. And by friends, I mean fellow fans. It's getting down to the crunch, you know, to the Canadian Football League's big game, which will be in Saskatchewan and Regina, Saskatchewan. Yeah, the Grey Cup will be there. It'll be chilly. I'm hoping to be there. Um, so it's going to be fun getting there. But before we get there, there's a few games that have been played, and I wanted to talk about the games that were played this weekend, and the key games. If you're an Argo fan or a Montreal fan, two games mattered more than anything, and that is the Argo game against Edmonton and the Montreal game in Ottawa. So let's talk about the one that's more important. Ottawa, with a victory, Aaron, would have had a chance to still consider the fact that they could make the playoffs. Now, it's become, not impossible, but a lot less probable.
I know it certainly does become significantly more difficult for them to make the playoffs at this point. Montreal was, for lack of a better term, remarkably consistent. 17 points in each half to take the game 34-30. But how we got there was certainly the more interesting part, with them dropping behind 24-17 at the half. And Ottawa shooting themselves in the foot by not being able to score in the third quarter at all. So,
Yeah.
but
So Ottawa after this weekend is 4 points behind Hamilton. They need to win back-to-back games to end the season. They have to win out. And I believe, let me look here. And since they're playing Hamilton, if they beat Hamilton, and then they beat Hamilton again next week, and Saskatchewan stays on 6 wins, in other words, loses both their games, Ottawa can still get in. But they would have made their lives a lot simpler if they had a won against Montreal. They went off to a great start, and it just didn't work out for them the way the fans hoped. But it has been a crazy kind of end to the season because every team still had a chance to make the playoffs. Um, and unfortunately for Edmonton, they basically are done. So they're the first ones to go. Um, Next in line will be Ottawa if things are predictable at all. But nothing's been predictable here at the end of the season. Hamilton has won 3 of 4 of the last games, and they look pretty good to make the playoffs. All they got to do now from here on in is match Saskatchewan.
that could be easier said than done. But I got to say, after watching the Hamilton game, there was a lot of back and forth there. That was a bit of a track meet by the time we got to the end of it. So happy to see that. I think it was interesting. Wasn't this the Argonauts' first win against Edmonton in a significant
since
number of years?
since 2013.
So there we go. And you know what? Actually, I was watching the Ottawa game, and I was really happy to see them score a touchdown, which is something they hadn't done there since July 21st. So that's another little bit of a slump to bust. Unfortunately, it didn't really help them in the end. They were still 0-8-0 at home, and only 4-4-0 on the road. So Montreal still has the opportunity, I think, to try to catch the Argonauts at the tail end there, which is why the email that I got today
Argos need
said we're either playing the 6th or the 13th. It all
yeah.
depends.
Argos need a split
Yeah, and
minimally.
that's all we need.
Minimally. So if they can do that, then they'll get in. Um, they could they could get in, uh, but the slimmest of margins. I don't know. I don't know the tiebreakers where they go because if if Montreal wins both games, right, the odds are good that they're going to win both games, and then what happens is they go by the way they played against each other, total points. Right now, before they play these last two games, the Argos fans may remember, and I think every fan might remember that Hamilton did it too. Montreal had a chance to kick an extra point to tie the game. They missed the extra point. So they lost by 1 point to Toronto. They beat Toronto twice, then it'll be point differential, right? And
Yeah.
because they beat them twice, that'll mean that they get in because to beat them twice, they're going to have to at least win by 1 point twice at the minimum, right? So that would give them one more point than the Argos have against them if they split. But it is going to be interesting. I just tell you that to have this many teams still with a chance in the playoffs, Aaron, is pretty is pretty rare actually for the Canadian Football League, even though there's 9 teams.
Well, we're a far cry from where we were early in the season when the Argonauts were first in the East at 4-5. So
Yeah,
there's some
yeah.
consolation to be taken in that.
Well, things have remained the same in the sense that the teams are pretty nicely grouped together. Well, it's going to be fun. That's for sure. I mean, they won the game going away against Edmonton. It was another one of those games where you figure, yeah, they're going to lose, and then they turn up winning. They win the strangest way, Aaron. And I don't know if this is a sign, for the Argos to be able to win the big game. But one thing's for sure: when they get to the playoffs, they're going to be playing teams that are playing well, not like Edmonton. So they're going to have to play better. There's a
No,
story here that you wanted to talk about. Please tell
mhm.
us about it. The Not My Fault story.
Right.
Victim addresses former Calgary Stampeder at sentencing hearing.
So this is concerning a story that we covered a couple months back about Jerome Messam, who pleaded guilty earlier this year to a charge of voyeurism. Now, he didn't show up at Calgary's Court of King's Bench for his sentencing hearing, and after a 3-hour delay, the judge allowed him to appear via video from Ontario. The woman's court statement on Friday said that she had considered suicide and suffered a deep feeling of guilt after a former player with the Calgary Stampeders filmed their sexual encounter without her permission. This is something that harkens back to something that's very similar to what went on with Logan Mailloux, who is currently signed to an entry-level contract in Montreal. In November 2016, the woman and Jerome had dinner together and then sex at Messam's apartment. 3 months later, Messam sent the woman 4 10-second video snippets on their social media platform, Snapchat. And so this is something that it's not something you should ever be doing, and these actions have far-reaching repercussions that I don't think Jerome understood at the time, even though he still did it and filmed it. it's a difficult situation here. They're going into sentencing November 10th. The Crown prosecutor, Janice Walsh, says jail time is not necessarily appropriate, but neither is a conditional discharge, which would allow him to avoid a criminal record. Um, so we'll
Yeah,
have to see where this turns up. This is something I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on because, again, this is, one of those cases of athletes doing something and potentially getting away with it. In this particular case here, however, we may see justice served.
the Montreal. Let's go over to MLS. Montreal wins. They advance to the MLS in the MLS playoffs to the semifinal. Good for them. We got a Canadian team in there.
Yeah, Montreal defeated Orlando 2-0 on Sunday. Georgi Mihailovic converted a penalty kick late in second half stoppage time. Kone had a goal in the 68th minute to give Montreal a 1-0 advantage. Orlando, unfortunately, wasn't able to mount a challenge. Here's the thing. Montreal's win has now continued a trend in which U.S.-based teams have won only 2 of 13 all-time playoff games in Canada. So it looks like we may have found American teams' Achilles' heels. Now, if we could just get more Canadian teams into the MLS playoffs, we'll be in a good path.
Yeah, absolutely. Very true. Let's look at the NHL and the Canucks. JT Miller not happy with his early struggles.
Yeah, the Canucks have been floundering a little bit so far this year. JT Miller has said that he's a little bit frustrated, especially seeing as they lost 3-2 to the division-leading Philadelphia Flyers on Saturday. He's been on for all 8 of the Canucks' goals against in their first 2 games, and that can certainly be frustrating. The Oilers beat the Canucks 5-3 on Wednesday, and then they dropped a 3-2 loss to the Philadelphia Flyers on Saturday. So JT's trying to make himself and work on himself to be a better player.
We cover all the Canadian teams. The Senators, a team that everybody's hoping will play better than they played in the past few years. They looked good in the exhibition season, but unfortunately against the Maple Leafs, Keith's defensive system kept the Maple Leafs in the game, and that defensive system, obviously, the one who stirs that drink is the goaltender. Samsonov made some, I think, by my count, about 3 really, really, really good saves that had to do with defensive breakdowns by the Maple Leafs, and he was there to back them up and make the big saves that were necessary. He kept the Leafs in the game, and then we saw how it ended there at the end.
Yeah, much maligned defenseman Justin Hall actually got the winner with a $1.55 left.
We talked about him on Friday.
This is a guy that sat 71 of 82 games a few years back when Babcock was still a coach. He was healthy scratched for 71 of 82 games. He's been drawing into the lineup regularly now. He's got a decent contract, but he was actually a part of all 3 of the Maple Leafs goals. So that was really good to see.
Yeah, he did well. The Montreal Canadiens, after that opening of the season victory over Toronto, have floundered a little bit.
They have. They went up against the Capitals, who were 0-2, and dropped a 3-1 decision. TJ Oshie had a goal and an assist as the Caps beat the Habs. This was actually to help the Caps avoid an 0-3-0 start, which hasn't happened to them since the 2012-2013 season. But Nick Suzuki got the Habs on the board early, but unfortunately from there it was all sort of flat. I'm not sure if this is indicative of larger troubles to come, but this Montreal team seems to have issues getting the puck deep, getting the puck, keeping the puck in the offensive zone, and getting opportunities.
You know, when we talk about Soup, Campbell hasn't done a very good job of filling the net. In fact, the puck's been filling the net. He got pulled in the Flames-Oilers game, the Alberta battle there. Almost. Edmonton almost made it a tie, but they didn't quite. They lost 4-3, Aaron. What happened here?
I'm really not sure what's going on with Jack. I know that he was an all-star last year, but he did have a very, very rough February, March, and April. At this point here, he's had 7 goals scored on him in, I think, 3.5 periods, and it's looking at a goals against average of almost 6. For $5 million, I'm not sure. What's that?
thing with the Leafs last year. He had a very slow start.
He had a pretty terrible start. It's true, but it's just a question. I think of him getting his feet under him and getting going again. I don't think this is going to last too long. It doesn't help that the Flames outshot the Oilers 42-28.
Yeah, there
That's
you
certainly
go.
not.
There you go. You know, one of the biggest problems with signing a really big contract, it puts a little bit of pressure on you.
Yeah, they expect really good numbers. If you're signing a contract with big numbers in it, they expect big numbers from your end too. You got to kind of balance it out. So
Yeah, too many crooked numbers in this game, and
yeah.
you can't have too many crooked numbers in games. So he lets 4 goals in, I think, in 6 or 8 shots. No, not good, not good enough. Let's move on to the Jets. New coach, and it seems a new attitude. They beat probably one of the favorites in the National Hockey League this year, the New York Rangers.
Yeah, the Rangers are being touted as one of the favorites this year, based on a rejuvenated defense and the goalie that they've retained. Um, I know that the Rangers came into the game with a 2-0-0 record, but Scheifele on the other side of the coin scored 2 goals to help the Jets win 4-1. So this was important because it was the first game at the Canada Life Center and also their home opener. So that's a good thing to bolster the fans' confidence and give the team a little bit of a boost as well. Now that they've gone away from one captain to captaincy by committee, there's some shaky ground there. And a victory to open the season is always good for self-confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk real quick about the Marlies. They opened their season here in Toronto.
Yeah, they opened up on Friday with a game against the Rochester Americans in Rochester that saw Shulgren get pulled, not because he was playing badly, but because he got run over and there was a potential for him to be injured. This following on the heels of Matt Murray going on the LTIR for an adductor strain was not necessarily good news for the Maple Leafs because they're at their contract limit, and Shulgren is one of, I think, 3 potential goalies that could play for them that's currently in North America. So after falling 4-2 to the Amerks on Friday, the Marlies turned it around in their home opener on Saturday, posting a 3-1 win. They were down 1-0 for most of the game until Robertson actually got us on the board about 6.5 minutes into the third period. So grateful to see that happen. Glad they played well at home for the fans. It was actually pretty full. So,
Yep. Soon after, Robertson got called up.
yep. So good news there.
Let's talk about the RCMP not releasing badge numbers.
So this is concerning internal documents from the RCMP, who refused to release the badge numbers of officers who cleared Freedom Convoy protesters from the Ambassador Bridge last winter, because they were afraid that the convoy people would dox their officers. Um, for those of you who are not aware, doxing is the publication of an individual's private information like phone number, date of birth, social insurance number, cell phone number, home address, all that sort of fun stuff. Um, the issue that we have here is while the protesters may have claimed that they were innocent, there was and peaceful, there was a genuine fear through law enforcement that their officers would be exposed and potentially put in harm's way.
Well, I guess if the police are handling a situation, and any policeman, and I include the RCMP in that, misbehaves, I think people have a right to at least identify the police officer doing something wrong. And it doesn't mean they have to see their name on their chest, but that number should be one that they can tell, they can complain about. And they don't have to get all that information. Like, what the heck? The social insurance number? We're told not to give that kind of information, Aaron, and now we're going to give it away? No,
Well,
I
no,
don't.
it's not that they were doing that. It's that these protesters have a way, and you can go on the internet and dox people by searching for their private information. It's happened to friends of mine. They don't necessarily give it out,
Oh,
but
okay.
it can be dug up. Do you know what I mean? Like through the dark web and through various other in nefarious sources.
Somebody, wouldn't it have to come off some sort of list?
Well, if they've got your name, that's pretty much all they need to start. I've known friends that have lost Facebook accounts because they were
Well,
injudicious enough to share information with the wrong people.
Well, that's what
So
I'm saying. That's what
yeah.
I'm saying. We talk about not giving that information away.
Mhm.
So, we shouldn't do it, and neither should any company or organization, including the RCMP and or the police and political, whatever, anybody. I mean, with people being able to steal people's identities, that is one of the best ways and easiest ways by having their social insurance number. That
Yeah.
makes me nervous when you say that. That's all. It just makes me nervous when you say that. Um, BC judge sentences sextortionist. Sextortionist.
Yes. This is a case involving Amanda Todd. I don't know if you remember, she was a teenager who
Yes.
committed suicide several years
Yes.
back. But yeah, the Martha Devlin of the BC Supreme Court said Aidan Coben's calculated conduct caused her enough anguish that she took her own life, and he was sentenced to 13 years in prison.
Is that enough?
Well, the sentence was longer than the 12 years originally suggested by the Crown. Um, but again, I'm no expert in these sorts of things. No, Coben, who was extradited to Canada, is already serving an 11-year sentence in the Netherlands for similar crimes involving 33 different youth. So the 13-year term will be served consecutively or on top of his sentence that ends in 2024. So he gets done with those 11 years in the Netherlands, and he gets deported here to serve another 12 or 13.
Well, anybody that attacks our children
Mm.
in any way, shouldn't see the light of day. That's just a little too much. Well, Aaron, this was fun.
I appreciate that, Frank.
You're awesome as usual.
Thank you. You're making me blush.
Applause for Aaron's hard work. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank
He's
you,
Aaron
Frank.
William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live, airing Mondays, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and of course, Leaf Talk on Fridays. This show can also at 6. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao for now.